The direction of cocaine supply planes is shifting to the Netherlands. The small Dutch country is rising in the ranks of global cocaine consumption, becoming a hub for cartels in Europe along with Belgium. Customs officials and police have seized 68 tons of cocaine at Dutch ports and airports so far this year, well above last year's nearly 50 tons. But this is only what the police and airports have found, because there is way more. Want to know how much more and who's behind this? Prepare yourself to enter the world of the criminal masterminds who are turning the Netherlands into a narco-state. Let's get started. A narco-state is a country in which the unlawful marketing of narcotic drugs shares a considerable part of the economy. A country becomes a narco-state when law enforcement agencies fail to control the situation. There are many narco-states in the world where drug trafficking is at its peak. Drug trafficking is basically a scar on the faces of police and anti-narcotics departments. Unfortunately, the Netherlands has also been added to the list of narco-states. In 2018, numerous police investigators stated in a report by the Dutch Police Association that the Netherlands, quote, already exhibited a painful number of characteristics of a narco-state. However, Minister Grapperhaus of Justice and Security denied the allegation and stated in response that Netherlands is not a narco-state. In a way, the Netherlands has produced the ideal conditions for the drug trade to thrive. It is an obvious crossroad for the outpour of unlawful drugs across international borders due to its robust transportation system, lenient drug laws and penalties, and closeness to several lucrative markets. I call the Netherlands a narco-state 2.0, says Jan Struges, chairman of the Nederlands Politiebond Police Union. He compared their condition with Mexico, stating, quote, we aren't Mexico with 14,000 dead bodies, but in our parallel economy, there is an attack on public order and unprecedented numbers of people with personal security, politicians, judges, prosecutors, police staff, journalists, because there is still a serious risk from organized crime. It is a huge problem being tackled on every front, but we have a long way to go. According to Struges, this small but well-connected and organized trading nation turned into a narco-state 4 years back. At the time, there was a quieted political response. The law enforcement agencies at that time didn't take prompt action, and slowly, the mafia strengthened its footing. The continuous growth in drug smuggling caused other criminal acts. The Marengo is the latest in a series of planned crime trials to jerk the Netherlands. This year, Dutch courts are also trying alleged criminal drug lord Roger P., accused of turning shipping containers into an underworld prison with its own frightful torture chamber. Meanwhile, a Marengo side trial involving motorbike club Calo Wago members were shot dead, preparing 3 other murders and, quote, putting another 7 people on the waiting list to be killed. Then, the brother of the Marengo Crown witness, Nabil B., was shot dead, and the Crown witness's lawyer, Dirk Wiersum, was gunned down outside his house. Finally, last July, celebrated crime reporter Peter R. de Vries, who had unconventionally agreed to act as Nabil B.'s representative, was shot in the head on a busy central Amsterdam street and died of his wounds. We definitely have the characteristics of a narco-state, confesses Struges, who's chairman of the biggest Dutch police union. Even before Wiersum's murder, a report authorized by the mayor of Amsterdam in August represented in the capital city as a Valhalla of drug criminals. The Netherlands wasn't yet a narco-state, but was in danger of becoming one, warned Justice Minister Ferd Grapperhaus. Without firm intervention, he said, you'll get a minister standing here in dark glasses rather than someone simply giving democratic accountability. Struges expressed, lawyers, mayors, police officers, we've all been threatened by organized crime. All the alarms have been sounding, but the politicians have been naive. Now it's rotting the concrete of our society. The police were trying to seize Ridouan. Eventually, he was arrested in the Gulf. Ridouan Taghi was stopped as he entered Dubai using a fake ID and is currently being held as the subject of a global arrest warrant on suspicion of numerous murders and drug trafficking. The 41-year-old, who's been dubbed one of the most dangerous men in the world by police, is suspected of having authorized a number of, quote, liquidations, including the murder of Dirk Wiersum. Before a significant gangland trial in March of 2020, Dutch prosecutors immediately requested his extradition, and he was flown to the country late on Wednesday. 5 murders and a number of attempted murders were committed in the Marengo case, one of which involved the brother of informer Nabil B. It is thought that Ridouan Taghi, his wife, and their 6 kids were residing in Dubai. His arrest, according to Dutch police, was the result of close international coordination rather than a tip-off. 100 detectives were involved, and Police Chief Eric Akerboom said the arrest was of great importance to the Netherlands. The next day, 6 people were arrested across the Netherlands on suspicion of money laundering and keeping drugs and guns. Undoubtedly, the arrest of Ridouan Taghi was a victory for Dutch law enforcement. Wouter Laumans believes it'll discourage young people from desiring to follow in his footsteps. It is quite interesting how Ridouan Taghi made his wealth. he inherited or gained control of a smuggling line and began smuggling cocaine instead of cannabis, and it helped him generate more money, power, and violence. Roberto Saviano, a well-known author, says that drug dealers, mafias, and suppliers are working all over the Netherlands, but their influence in Amsterdam is even more sinister. While talking to Volkerent newspaper, he said, "There are clans from all over the world because the Netherlands is one of the most important transit ports. They know whoever controls the Netherlands has one of the arteries of the global drug market," he told the Volkerent newspaper. Millions of euros are being made in hidden places. In 2017, the Netherlands produced synthetic drugs with a street value of 18.9 billion euros. The Dutch economy may not be dependent on the drug industry, but that industry is wielding a rising influence on society. Dutch Police Academy professor Peter Tops and journalist Jan Tromp researched how lawbreakers manipulated sufficient ports, good roads, and strong economic and digital infrastructure. Struges says, "We have huge numbers of imports, which means a lot of drugs are mixed with legal trade, coming in containers of fruit or liquor. Organized crime takes advantages of the legal infrastructure." 30 years ago, soft drugs have been imported from North Africa and Colombia. The Netherlands currently produces a huge portion of synthetic drugs, including MDMA, LSD, amphetamines, GHB, and crystal meth. The nation is actually regarded as a global leader. Moreover, corruption is at its peak in Netherlands, causing citizens to earn a lot of money illegally. The NVB Dutch Bank Association declares an assessed 16 billion euros in illegally earned cash moves from one source to another. Adding more trouble to the Dutch economy, allegedly corrupt customs staff, shipping, and port workers, partially as an outcome of a Dutch geju-cultuur of looking the other way. Additionally, there are issues with so-called collectors, typically young men who enter the harbor illegally and gather drugs. Dutch police are so far unable to control the drug mafia. They are often busy giving different excuses to the media. They have been successful in capturing some very dangerous drug dealers and suppliers. Yet more is to be done. The Dutch Police Association wants to hire 2,000 more officers, and critics will interpret its blunt assertion about the rise of organized crime as an effort to extract more money from the federal government. The Dutch Minister for Justice and Security, Ferd Grapperhaus, acknowledged he'd received the police report warning of a lack of capacity for the combat against organized crime. He said, quote, "It is a signal that we must take seriously. The government acknowledges that there is a need for investment in the police force." Nobody knows if the Netherlands has a worse international organized crime problem than other European port nations, but its soft drug culture is unquestionably a weakness. Cannabis smoking and cannabis sales in coffee shops are acceptable, but commercial cannabis cultivation is prohibited. This indicates that cafes provide a space for illegal activity to occur, which also become a training ground for aspiring criminals. While there's been a 25% reduction in the number of registered crimes over the past 9 years, to below 1 million, the paper reported that 3.5 million offenses go unregistered every year. The report also increased worries that the authorities were being put at, quote, "an insurmountable disadvantage." The Netherlands' neighboring countries are skeptical about free drug smuggling. German and Belgian politicians and police officials have displayed concern over the Dutch role as a hub for the drug trades. One German police official last year called the Netherlands, quote, "a post office for drugs" after an increase in the interception of substances sent by mail. This month, the public prosecutor of the Dutch capital, the local police force, and the mayor of Amsterdam issued statements, warning of an increase in organized crime. Peter Jaap Albersberg, the police chief of Amsterdam, asserted the gang-related hit jobs account for 60 to 70% of his department's time. That's according to Anna Halligan from the BBC News. It strikes me as ironic that in a bureaucratic nation that sends you a dog tax reminder or fine for overdue parking payment in a flash, gangsters remain at large and gangland shootings erupt on a regular basis. Want to know more about criminal law? Check out the video you see on your screen.